About how to create all the things you need for your AP Create task. So there's three components. The first one is component A, and that's your program code. All right. Now this goes over all the things that you need in it. You should be well aware of it, but really all you have to do is copy and paste your code into a document. All right, and then you're pretty much done with that. So it's very simple. So in your component A program code, what you're going to do is just go to your HTML, grab that, paste it in, go to your script, paste that in, and then finally go to your CSS and paste that in. Now, I just want to be clear about this. The only one that they're really concerned about is the JavaScript. That is the most important one. HTML and CSS aren't even looked at because it's not a logical code. So really, it's the JavaScript that's the most important. But make sure you paste all the code in there for your submission. Okay, our next one is component B. All right. Now, it's very simple to do, but it's easy to mess up as well. So once you've got A filled out, you're going to move on to B. And let's go down. And that's your video. So let's talk about what you need to have, but also what not to have. You need to show your input to your program, at least one aspect of the functionality of your program, and the output produced. All right, pretty straightforward. Just use your program, show them how it's done. Now, here's what it can't have. So it can't have any distinguishing information. So like it cannot have like your voice. It can't have like a little video of you in the corner. Like it's just the code. And like I just said, there's no voice narration allowed. You can, if you're a fancy, put some text captions on it, but you cannot use your voice. All right, and then finally, it has to be one of these formats. MP4 is automatic if you use a Mac, so that should be easy to do. It has to be under 1 minute in length and under 30 megabytes. So let me show you how to make my video, okay? I would go to my code. I'm gonna make it full screen. All right, now you don't have to. You could have the code here as well if you want, but I'm just making it full screen so people can see it. And then what I would do is, this is how I would do it. No voice narration, and just show how it's done. So pretend I'm starting my video now. And that would be it. So I just want to show you what I did. I used the inputs, I showed the outputs, and that basically was showing the functionality of it by pressing submit. So remember, inputs, the functionality is when I press submit, and then the output is over here. All right, I showed two examples, right? So showing that it does different things, and that's the whole thing you have to do. So under a minute, very quick, easy, and don't say anything during your video. All right, let's talk about component C. This might be the most complicated version. This is called your personalized project reference. And you have to put 4 code segments on. The first 2 have to do with your procedure. The second 2 has to do with your list. So the first one's your procedure, right? Now, you should have all made a function or a procedure, all right? The first thing you're going to copy and paste is your entire procedure, all right, or your entire function. So start to finish, nothing else, right? Not the call to it, just the function, right? That's my first line, and then the closing curly brace. And I'm going to put that in component C over here. So I'm going to put that here, and there you go. Now, if it's a little long, they do say that you can bring this down to size 11 font, which I'll do. It makes it a little easier to read. You will be able to look at this on test day to remind you of your code, so it's important that you do that. So make sure it's easy for you to read. Part 2 says over here, the second program code segment must show where your student-developed procedure is being called. Called means like, when do you use it, right? Like, how does this function get used? So if you look over here, for me, it's the submit button. So when I press submit, I run the function get jobs. So I'm just going to grab these 2 lines of code, right, because that's when I'm using it. And I'll put that over here. And once again, I'll just bring it down to size 12 font just to make it look nicer. All right, so we got the procedure. Those are the first 2 code blocks. The next one is the first for our lists. Capture and paste 2 program code segments you developed during the administration of your task that contains a list being used to manage complexity in your program. The first program code segment must show how data have been stored in that list. So that's pretty straightforward. Here I have it, right? So I have my 3 arrays. Okay, I'm just going to copy it, right? And I'm just going to paste all my arrays in there. So this is it. I have young jobs, young job picks, and old jobs. So those are my 3 arrays. The second program code segment should show how the data is in the same list is being used, such as creating new data from existing data or accessing multiple elements in the list. So when I access it is in my for loop. So you'll see what happens in this program, you might remember, is you go through, when you're under 21, it goes through this list and prints them all to the page along with the pictures. When you're over 21, it prints all of these. The way we do that is using these for loops. That's how it's accessed, right? So it goes through the length of the array, and then it posts each one using the for loop to the HTML page. So since this is all where it is, I'm just going to copy and paste this part of my code. This is the only part where I use the arrays. You see old jobs, young job picks. That's all the code that has that. And so let's put that over here, and that's it. So if you see, now I've got all the code. Remember, it's the procedure, the entire procedure, when it's called, all the arrays, and when those arrays are used actually in the code, okay? Or accessed. And that's it. So now I've done my video, I've done my component C, my personal project reference, and I have my code posted here. And that's what gets submitted to the AP board. All right, that's it. Hopefully this is helpful. Good luck.